Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at Nuscale Power. It is time for another update, and we will keep it rather brief on this chart today. I have just done a video on Oklo where we have a quite similar story. Nuclear stock, initial 5-wave pattern up, and high potential. So, a few weeks ago as well, I have provided you this area of support for this area of a trade setup because we've identified an initial 5-wave move to the upside. So, it was being strongly suggested to us that after a 3-wave correction into the support zone, we would see at the very least another 5-wave move to the upside within a wave C, if not something even more bullish, something like the yellow interpretation instead, where right now we would be building a wave 3 that could see significant gains. Nonetheless, we have pushed into the last level of support, we have maxed it out basically, so at this point, I cannot expect to see another low within this overall correction, because if that happens, we would have to break the levels of support, and it would be rather suggested to us that the pattern has failed, that most likely we will have to expect a complete failure of this setup, that we will have to expect a push even below the beginning of this entire wave 1 to the upside, a push below $8.8, which means an extension of the large downtrend that is already quite extended, we have to notice. So I am looking in the smaller time frame where we have already achieved the first two levels of confirmation, right? 5-wave pattern up, 3 waves down, and we are looking for the next one, the next initial 5-wave move to the upside. Well, in the case of this chart, I do not like the pattern that has formed from the lows as much as on the Oklo chart, because this structure could very easily have room for one additional high before having a more clear top within a wave 1, right? I could track this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have to consider such a possibility. I have to consider that I would see one more extension and then the larger wave 2 correction. But even so, I prefer to track the same levels of support for a potential 1, 2 setup instead, because I am not interested in a potential wave 4 within a diagonal structure. It's probably one of the worst setups you could be taking in a motive wave. So I will continue to track this yellow area of support just to see how it further reacts with those levels, because we can clearly notice this correction we have seen today has found the support at the 38.2% retracement we have here in yellow. Not only that, we have in fact even bounced off of the 50% retracement before creating the last high. So we do still see relevance for these levels. Now, to get to the actual wave 2 in white, I am tracking the levels of support between $11.4 down to $10.3, and as long as we hold here the 78.6% retracement, at the very least, we can expect continuation to higher prices. We can favor this idea, but if it happens to get a sustained break below such a level, we have to be rather prepared that we will see a failure of the yellow area of support, that not even $9.8 will hold any longer, which means that we need to be prepared for a break of this entire setup where not even $8.9 will be holding any longer. So in short, getting a sustained break below the 78.6% retracement could easily lead, and is actually strongly suggesting it would lead to, a push below $8.9. Well, it could be more than an insignificant one where we just form a marginally lower low, so we have to be prepared for, let's say, 13% drop, 15%, potentially even 20% or 30% towards the next larger level of support, where we actually have some additional structural levels that would allow a stronger reversal at $6.8, right? This is the risk that I see with getting a sustained break below $10.2. And that is not to scare you. That is rather to show you the power of this level of support, how important it is to hold it, and how we can trust it with our setup. If you want to have a more loose approach to this, you can still use this yellow area of support, but it actually helps us with one additional thing, where within the wave 2 in white, I would expect to reach at least the 38.2% retracement at $11.4. I do see significant structural support at these levels because we've had this massive amount of reversal of bounces off of this support area, where sure, it might not manage to bounce off of the first levels of structural support around $11.6. It may go through them, but we can expect some additional buying to occur at those levels for more players to step in and make the liftoff of the support levels in white that much easier. Now, in terms of an ideal target, before I actually let you go, I am looking in this orange wave C for the 100% extension of the wave A. As you can notice, this is not into the orange resistance area, it's only at $15.5. It doesn't mean the wave C has to stop there. It could very easily surpass it, it could very easily reach the orange resistance area on its own, but that is the general level it is drawn towards. We could also see a larger extension, a larger A, B, C structure to actually take us to those levels if it ends up being an issue. I will caution you though, there are other scenarios that could allow us to return to lower prices from lower levels. So once we have the next wave to the upside complete, we have to be prepared that a more substantial top would be in place, this being the likely portion of this structure. But until we get the 5 waves within this wave C, we would expect higher prices still. Then, if the yellow path follows through, we are looking at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 instead. That sits at $18.6, and that is the ideal target for the wave 3, where we also expect to build a 5-wave pattern. But actually not only that, we expect the wave 3 to be an impulse. So if we actually do not manage to build an impulse, I would have to strongly consider that this would be a wave C, as opposed to pretty much any other interpretation. There are a few, but it is certainly not going to be a wave 3 without forming an impulse within this white structure, which at this point unfortunately remains a possibility due to not having the most reliable 5-wave pattern within the wave 1 in white. But for now, we will stop here. These are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.